Good morning. You're watching the Daily Jam. My name is Jamal. It is Saturday, the 17th of February, 2024. How are you? It's a beautiful morning. It's about 20 to 10 a.m. It is a nice warm morning. There's no rain. The sun is out. The birds are singing, and I'm loving it. Personally, I'm loving it. And I'm loving it so much that I thought, this is a great morning and opportunity to explore drumming in a philosophical sense. And so this episode, and this is episode 3, by the way, I want to continue on with the previous episodes, somewhat establishing what I'm doing here and why this is worth your time, why this is relevant for you. Crickets chirping. If you can help me with answers to that question. No, I'm actually kidding, because I can back up why this is valuable. Because I have a lot of experience performing, and I have a lot of experience teaching. Over 10 years experience teaching, 20 years and above for performing. I've got over 20 years of performing experience. So the things that I teach and the ideas that I talk about are geared towards getting you gig ready and happy with your playing ability. But when I say happy with your playing ability, I more mean in the sense of accepting who you are, accepting the reality of your body and its limitations, and working within those limitations. And you can push the boundaries of your own limitations, but after a certain point, you have to accept that you do have limitations, which is a perfect segue into this topic of limitation that I want to discuss, because it's a huge reason as to why I've adopted the kind of approach and technique that I have adopted towards music and drumming. And it's based in limitation, because what I realized is there is a mathematical way to going about understanding rhythm and music. And the music that we hear daily on the radio, on Spotify, most likely the music that we listen to is rhythmic music. It's based in a rhythmic meter, which means it can be understood and mapped out mathematically using music notation, which means the notes and the rhythms that are played in a song are not completely random, plucked from the cosmos with no logical connection to what's going on in the music. Typically, there is an agreement for the song or piece of music to be in a specific tempo, to have an underlying subdivision, whether that's 16th notes, triplet 8th notes, triplet 16th notes, regular 8th notes, quarter notes, or classical music, you say crotchets, minims, etc. Whichever language you're vibing with. And time signature. You can establish a time signature for a song, and that dictates basically the rhythmic underpinning of that song, unless it changes time signature and subdivision through the song, which isn't really that common. And if it happens a lot, we tend to call that music progressive music. Whereas pop songs, 3-minute 30 pop songs, they tend to stick to one time signature and one rhythmic meter, one feel. Like take Billie Jean, boom, cat, boom, cat, boom, cat, boom, cat, boom boom come boom boom come boom boom come boom boom come boom boom come. It's like the song establishes a grid, a rhythmic grid. In this case, it's bumped, cat, bumped, cat, bumped, cat, bumped, cat. And if you listen to that song, you'll notice it more or less stays in the ballpark, the vicinity, the neighborhood of that grid. It does not venture from that grid. How many triplet fills, triplet drum fills can you remember occurring in Billie Jean? Like boomt, cat, rakakakaka, boomt, cat. There's none, because it doesn't require that. You could put it in there for some added excitement. But the song already is the song. It doesn't need your input. It already has an identity. It already exists as itself, whether or not you add or omit triplets, okay? So that's more what I'm talking about, is getting into the character of the song that you're performing on a deep level. Not just going, oh, this song, it's like this tempo and it's this time signature, and I just go boom, jum, kam, boom, jum, kam, boom, and then after 4 bars, chugga dugga 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 boom, jum, kam, boom, dum, kam, da da ba 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 boom, ba 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 boom, dum, kam. I mean, you can think like that if you want, but I guarantee it's going to get boring pretty much there. Like after about 10 seconds, you're bored. As opposed to actually getting into the character and identity and emotion of the song that you're performing. What is the song about? What is the meaning of the lyrics? If there is no meaning of the lyrics, what's the song title? Why is it called that? If the song title is random, what are the notes that are being played? What is the scale or mode that is being used? Is it a major mode? Is it a minor? Or a major tonality? Is it a minor tonality? Etc. What's the flavor? Like it's a dish. Is it a spicy dish? Is it sweet and sour? Is it savory? Is it sweet? So getting into the character of the song, and that will better inform the things that you should be playing on your instrument, whether it's drums, guitar, piano, whatever it is. By getting into the character of the song, you can perform the song for what it is and what the song actually means and how the song actually feels. And that will help you determine, should I put triplets here? If it's a party, just do whatever creates excitement and keeps the vibe going. But if you're creating meaningful music to an audience that's sitting down, maybe in a theater, I guarantee you will reach more hearts, minds, and souls if you connect with the deeper purpose of why you are there performing that music and why people gather in a room specifically for music. They will book tickets in advance. They will pay with their hard-earned money, and they will make plans. They'll hire a babysitter, and they will travel to the venue. They will park, get parking ticket, and they will look forward to the event coming up through the weeks and months. But why? Why do people do this? So this is what you've got to get into. Why music? Whither music? As Leonard Bernstein? I think it's Bernstein. As Lenny puts it, who I admire greatly. Whither music? Why music? And where did it come from? What are we doing with this whole thing? So if you can keep that in mind, that awareness, that will help you see right through with piercing eyes all of the drum content that you come across online, on YouTube, etc. It will help you determine what is actually useful for you and what is wasting your time. And look, everybody's different. What's useful to me in my context may be a waste of time for you. Or maybe it's a waste of time because you should be focusing on something else. So all the tools and resources are out there. That's why I'm not doing drum lessons in the standard way of like, here we go, we're going to do 4 beats and then we're going to do 4 bars and do a drum fill at the end of the fourth bar. I'm not doing the traditional format for lessons because I feel like there is an abundance of that material out there already in the metaverse. You can just tap into it, whatever it is. Oh, I want to strengthen my left hand, drumming, search. Oh, I want to work on my single stroke roll. I want to work on my chops. I want to work on this. So you don't need me. You've got access to the internet just as I do, and you can research whatever it is that you feel is a weakness in your playing. You can just look it up and you'll find 10 to 20 videos on that topic. And then you'll have a whole array of opinions and viewpoints that you can choose from. And then you can decide, this makes sense to me. I'm doing it this way. And these are the reasons why. So I didn't feel the necessity to contribute to that because I think everything's kind of been said in terms of what to practice. What needs to be addressed are the reasons why to practice. And also, I will talk a bit about how to practice as well, because that doesn't get addressed. Everyone says, you should be practicing. Go practice. 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 But you need to know the reason you're practicing for, and you need to know how to go about achieving the goals that you've defined for yourself. So that's just as important as sitting down and doing paradiddles on the practice pad for 5 hours. You need to know the reason why. So that's all I really care about. I don't care what you practice, so long as you know deeply the reason why you are practicing that specific thing. What purpose is it serving? What function is it serving? You can practice just for the sake of practice and just have fun. Yeah, if you got the time, just more time spent with your instrument will just form a deeper connection with that instrument. And that's our goal. We want to get to that place where it doesn't feel like a separate object external to us. We want it to be an extension of our expression in the moment, flowing, barrier dissolved, an extension of you, second nature. So that's our goal. So the more time you spend with your instrument, the greater you get at closing that particular gap. But you will make far more progress if your practice is purposeful. This is the reality. And if you're like me, you have limited time. You can't just sit around practicing drums 12 hours a day. Maybe you can if you're a teenager, in which case, if you've got that possibility to do so, highly recommend it. But if you have to manage your time, well, we need to get to the crux of the matter of what this whole drumming thing is. So anyway, I'm kind of going on tangents here. So that's why overall, I'm not saying not to practice. That's one of the biggest things. I feel like people are interpreting what I'm saying when I'm telling people not to just practice rudiments for their own sake. I'm not saying not to practice. I'm just saying be a bit smarter with how you practice, be a bit more purposeful, because then you can sit down and do deep practice for like 5 minutes, but you're fully engaged and focused for the entirety of that 5 minutes. That is so much better for your development than just doing 12 hours where your mind wanders. It's going to help, but you're not going to be a healthy human for starters. And you need to be in this day and age. You got a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot going on. Everything's jumping out at you. Notifications, bloom, bloom, bloom. So that's why I've adopted this approach, and it actually works. So that's the whole thing. I was talking about limitations. So what I realized is, let me get to the crux here. What I realized is there are only so many potential rhythms that exist. Now, the combinations of these rhythms are seemingly infinite. And it's not just the combinations of the rhythms, but the different instrumentation we can use, we can play the rhythms on a snare drum, we can play them on a bass drum, we can play them on a cymbal, we can play them on a guitar, we can play them on a piano, we can play them on a bass, we can play them with our voice, etc., etc., etc. And then you create combinations of those elements, which create new elements, and so on and so on. So even though there's like a finite amount of rhythms, assuming that we're operating within 4/4 time signature, boom, catch, boom, catch, you can only really double that, triplet it, but there's only so many things you could do. You could double it again, you could halve it, boom, 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 but it's still operating within this pulse. I can't remember if I talked about pulse in the last episode, but it's going to come up again and again because I believe it's all in reference to this pulse. All music, all rhythmic based music is in reference to a pulse. Prove me wrong. Show me rhythmic music that avoids a pulse. And I still include energetic pulsation as a kind of pulse. It's just not a metric pulse, but it's still this sense of like something building and growing, and then it shrinks away, and then it builds again, and then eventually it might reach a climax, and then it pitters away. Like in ambient or classical music, I still consider that a pulse. Anyway, that's on the topic of pulse, but coming back to limitation. So I realized that there's only so many rhythms that exist, and no matter, even if you're the fastest drummer in the world, literally if you are the fastest drummer in the world, I can always imagine someone faster. This is the issue I was starting to have. My imagination excels the capabilities of any human and any potential human that could exist. I can always imagine a faster rhythm. So I stopped getting so impressed with speed, and I stopped having an incentive to practice speed. The only reasons I would practice speed was well, maybe I had a gig coming up with some up-tempo songs, and I just was out of practice. So then I would deliberately practice faster tempos. And the way to do that, I mean, you can just jump in the deep end, set the metronome at the gold tempo, and then just start practicing and just wear your muscles in until you can do it. But I also recommend this gradual approach of just making it a slower tempo, kind of where it's completely effortless, and then just a bit faster than that. I mean, you could start at the point where it's completely effortless, but from there, we want to just gradually increase the tempo, increase the level of challenge and difficulty, but not so much that it's like a pain. And then, because all we're doing then, if we're just practicing while we're in tension, all we're doing is training ourselves to be tense. You're just training yourself to be stressed out whenever you play music, and you're going to create these stressful connotations with music as this like tension-based thing, particularly with music and drumming, but music as a whole, regardless of the instrument you practice. So I advocate for a tensionless practice, or at least intelligently incorporate tension. So start off tensionless, move towards the tension until that feels like the new normal, and then increase the difficulty again. And you just keep going and going. Another idea, this isn't new, these are all ideas that exist out there, is the idea of sprinting. It's similar to what I was talking about. You start at like a walking or jogging pace, and then you sprint for a little bit, maybe at the gold tempo, maybe just for like 5-10 seconds, and then just stop and then completely relax. Do something where you don't even need to think and it feels good. Absolutely zero tension. And then sprint again. And this will gradually build your speed and tempo. But my point is, you've got to have a reason to do it. Maybe you want to be the fastest drummer in the world. In that case, well, you've got a reason to do it. That's my whole point. But if you just want to get fast for the sake of getting fast, I mean, that's okay. Like, it's better than doing nothing, I guess, than doing nothing on your instrument. It's just not going to sustain you. It's not going to give you meaning and purpose. And you're just going to quit. I'm telling you right now, because it's not fulfilling. Chasing speed. I want to be the fastest drummer in the world. Again, you've got your reasons for doing what you do. I'm just saying, if you want to actually make music with people, speed has nothing to do with it, unless you're playing fast music. And if it's the music you want to play, well, I'd assume you're already listening to it. I would just say listen to the music you want to play all the time and just keep practicing until you can play the tempos. Find songs that you want to learn, slow them right down. You can use YouTube to do that for free. Slow the songs down, even if it's 50% of the original tempo, even if it's 25, but whatever it is. And you start off at a tempo where it feels completely effortless, and you build your way up to the goal tempo. It's really that logical. So there's really not much to that. It's not like a magical thing. It's just consistency, work ethic, putting in the time, and defining the goals that you're aiming for. And they have to be meaningful goals. They have to be something you actually want to strive towards, because otherwise you just won't do it. That's the reason. That's the reason you make it meaningful. So anyway, that's what I started realizing. There was only so many rhythms that exist, and I could imagine rhythms beyond human capability. So I stopped being so impressed with speed. I still am impressed when I see a really fast drummer, because it's like seeing an athlete, like a world-class athlete. It's impressive. You can't deny that it is impressive, and the amount of work and dedication and sacrifice that goes into achieving a level of ability like that, it's incredible. But I wouldn't listen to it the way I listen to music. And the way I listen to music, well, there's all different moods and reasons, but it's not something I'd listen to for pleasure or leisure. It's taxing. I find chops-based music taxing to listen to. And that's not what I want from music after I've had a full-on day of dealing with life. The last thing I want is like a competitive drummer. I'm just like, no, stop. You're making life worse for everyone except you in your head. No one cares. Please stop. Maybe some drummers out there care, but I don't. So, but if you want to train towards that, I can help you reach those goals. The thing is, I'm going to help you reach them in a meaningful way. I'm going to make you dig deep into why you want this. And that will actually help you figure out, first of all, if that's what you should be doing. And if it is, it'll help you just go deeper and deeper and deeper into it and just block out all the distractions of the external world and people's opinions. La la la. So that's why I've adopted this approach. And to me, I think of it like playing within your range. You know how with singers, they talk about having a vocal range. You know yourself. Everybody sings, or everybody has a voice, assuming your voice box isn't damaged. And you know what it's like to sing. Even if you feel like you can't sing well, you still know the difference between talking and singing. It's like a different mode. So, and you know, you've tried to sing a high-pitched voice, maybe like those chipmunky voice in music, pop music, how they do that chipmunk effect. And you go to sing it and it's way out of your range. It's like, you reach a certain point and your voice is there. Your voice isn't there anymore. And it's a save if you go a little low. I can't go low. But it's the same thing. You have a vocal range. Now you can push to the upper limits of your range. You can delude yourself, basically, and and just only play songs at the upper limits or the lower limits of your range. But A, you're neglecting the full spectrum of your vocal range, and B, you're making it unnecessarily difficult for yourself, and maybe you should change the key of the song so that it fits nicely within your range, rather than pushing yourself to the edges of what you're capable of, which then puts you in this state of tension because you're always like just out of your depth. You'll never be able to fully own the song and be grounded and present because it's always like this thing, it doesn't feel right. So, vocal range, drumming range, instrument range. To me, play within your range. When you're in the practice room, this is your time to increase your range, to push the boundaries of your range. But when you're performing or jamming, playing music, just operate within your range of expertise and ability, and also of what suits the song. Don't go into music and songs with your agenda of, I do this fill every 4 bars. I do this rhythm all the time. I need you to just throw that away. Just like a helmet, just plick, lift it off and just throw it in the ocean. Okay? Because that kind of thinking is just going to make your life suck, basically. So I'm trying to help you and I'm trying to help the world so there's better music out there. But that kind of thinking will make your experience suck heaps. Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought, but overall, playing within your range. Because if you do that, well, that's when things get interesting, because every human has their own unique range that is unique to them, given by the laws of physiology. Human physiology, everybody's body is different, so everybody has different thresholds, different spectrums or ranges of thresholds. Some people have really nimble ability. Some people are like heavier hitting. So I'm not saying you're doomed to be what you are. You can, if you're a heavy hitter, you can work on hitting lighter. If you're finessey, you can work on having more presence in your hitting, more weight in your playing. But just don't deny who you are. Just be yourself. Play the drum like you're you sitting down playing the drum. I know that's like impossible to avoid. But that's my point. Just be yourself and just pay attention to those moments where you start drifting mentally. And then, because it happens to me when I'm drumming, I'll start off and I've got this nice little groove. But if I do that for long enough, I mean, I don't know, I was vibing then, felt like I could have gone on and on and on and on. But if I do that, typically if I do that long enough in a practice room scenario, it's very easy to go, it's a very subtle thought in the mind, but it's like it goes, I should probably do this faster. I should practice this faster. So then you go, and then you go, oh yeah, what about faster? What about faster though? And then all of a sudden, you're not keeping up. All of a sudden, your body can't keep up with what your mind is demanding and what your mind is craving. And then all of a sudden, your practice session is hijacked. And what was once this therapeutic experience now becomes this stressful thing with frustration because you'll never be fast enough. And why do you even drum in the first place? What a silly activity. And then you just put it down. And then that's what you think drumming is. And that's what you think music is this like frustrating experience within yourself. That's why I say play within your range, because you'll feel the difference. You'll feel like this massive weight off your mind just drop, because now you can just be yourself and there's no expectation. The only expectations are the ones that you are imposing on the situation. So if you can learn to let those go and just be, you'll realize there's no one calling for the extreme chops except for you. I mean, maybe there's people in the audience that want to see it. And well, this is the thing with practicing for speed, because even myself, within myself, at the end of last year, I was starting to film and record drumming videos. And then by the fourth or fifth video, even by the third video, you start realizing, oh, this is why drummers on social media post really fast videos or post videos of themselves drumming really fast. Excuse me. This is the reason why they do that, is because that's what humans demand. The human watching it on their electronic rectangle just wants to see faster. I want to see the fastest. I want to see the fastest thing ever. I want to see the fastest thing ever. Maybe that's what they're thinking, or maybe it's drummers that are creating that. Maybe drummers are imagining someone looking at the rectangle, the electronic rectangle, and maybe drummers are thinking, oh, they probably just want to see a fast drummer. They just want to see the fastest in the world. So then drummers like compete with each other to make the fastest possible. And then you scroll through social media and like every video is like a drummer. They've got the neon lights. Oh, blue. They got the lighting. They've got, and it'll be like this 10-second clip. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's what that culture perpetuates, is drummers competing with each other to be the best drummer, but not a lot of music going on. There's not a lot of music going on at all. I'd rather listen to the cockatoos screeching. Oh, there you go. Thanks. Thumbs up on that one. So just cool it if you're a drummer. That's my opinion. Or at least just be yourself. If you want to be all chops, all that stuff, just be yourself. Just do what you're going to do. This is just how I think, and this is why I drum the way that I drum. Because it works for my body, it works for my mind, and it works for my soul. I'm the one that has to drum and perform. And in order for me to feel good, so that the band feels good, so that the audience feels good, so that the venue owner feels good, and everyone feels good, then I need to be completely comfortable and relaxed and know exactly what I'm there to do and what I'm doing. I know how to do it. And that's really it. So I do practice for gigs. Some people don't like that. They like to just play drums and they just work on their ability. I used to be like that when I was growing up in my teen years, when I had a drum kit set up and I could just drum all day, go to school and just drum. When I get home, all day, every day. But now I don't have that luxury, which is okay. You just find other ways to practice. Visualization is a great way to practice. You can get into the science of that at another point. Anyway, so just going on and on as to why I've arrived at this approach. I think it was Beethoven. He's got some quote. It's something like, it's a sin to play without passion. That's my whole thing. And I just practiced based on what I either want to learn or what I need to learn. So if I've got a gig coming up and I have to work on certain material because I'm not adept at it at present, or it needs to be touched up to get it up to scratch, then I will practice specific to the skills that will get me feeling completely professional and in control for the gig. And it becomes a process of reverse engineering. I somewhat imagine or visualize the finished product of what I'm aiming for. And then I break down the steps of what I would need to practice or work on in order to achieve that end, in order to achieve that goal or that vision that I've visualized. And that's really it. And that's what I offer with my tuition and coaching, is I can help you break down what it is you should be working on and why. And I can help you stay on track week to week and just check in, make sure you're focused on those goals, because I know how life is and it's no joke. So that's what I offer. That's what I do. I help you figure out these things basically until you've learned how to do it for yourself. And then you can wave goodbye to me and maybe hit subscribe and keep supporting me. if I helped you and you think I can help other people. Yeah, so anyway, I was going to link all this with social media and music and have a bit of a talk on that. I don't really want to say too much about all of that. I think it's great if you're using social media to advertise your music and it's working. Some people are excellent at it. It's a whole thing though. It's a beast and it's constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. So, I mean, some issues I've had with it is, well, it's oversaturated, meaning there's like drummers everywhere on social media with like a 15-second thing. And everyone's just getting cooler and cooler, and the filming techniques are getting cooler, and there's like effects, visual effects, and different settings and scenarios. And it's really cool. I mean, if you want to do that stuff, I encourage it because there is some cool content out there. But my issue, I got an issue with it. I got an issue with this. And it's that, well, when everyone's doing that, it's like we're all competing over scraps. So we're all like, I got to film the best video and it's going to go for 15 seconds and it's just going to be the best. You put all this time and effort and buy all this equipment to this video and then you release it and then it gets like 10 views. So there's all that stuff, and then you compete and you get better and better and better, but like for what? It's to each their own. Like just do what you're going to do. But what's the overall meaning? Because I feel like now social media is giving people the wrong idea about what drumming is. And I feel like now drumming has been reduced to this circus act or like a busking act, which is cool. You know, you go to the city and you see people gathered around in a circle and you get closer and you look in and it's like a guy swallowing swords or something like that. That's what social media drumming is to me. It's like a sword swallower and the sword's on fire. But that's not what music is. So like, even for myself, I could sit around every day, not sit around, but I could work every day towards producing social media drum content like that. But it is utterly unfulfilling. It is completely unfulfilling. And it potentially makes you worse of a musician. This is my whole issue. It's not actually making you a musician. It'll make you a great drummer, like a kind of showman. It's great for your showmanship as a drummer. But as a musician, terrible for your musicianship. Because it's going to feed this idea of who you think you are as a drummer, and you've got your drummer identity and your whole social media channel. But when you enter a musical situation and you've got to just play pop covers for 3 hours, or you're doing an original music gig at a venue, it just doesn't help going in with a preconceived notion of who you are, and or at least too many preconceived notions. Obviously, we need preconceived notions in order to operate at all in the world. But if you have too heavy of one, I feel like it can make it harder for you to gel with the other musicians that you're performing with. because you've got your agenda. This is who I am. I'm this guy, and blah, and I do this. And therefore, you'll fail to connect with the audience. That's why I personally would push for you. I think it's better to be more musically inclined than to be drummingly inclined. But that's my personal thing. Some people take offense to that. And I respect you because to me, you're actual drummers. I'm a drummer, but I don't necessarily identify as one anymore. I do, but I don't. For myself, I grew up with, I did like a childhood music program at the local conservatorium. I did a bit of recorder in school, clarinet, piano, classical guitar, before finally finding drum kit. So over the years, I've had to realize, no, I actually consider myself more of a musician. And it's a conscious choice you have to make. Just because I couldn't keep up with drummers, really. I couldn't keep up with drummers. And I could sit down and do the work that is necessary, but it's not what my soul or my mind wants to do anymore. I had my time where I put all my years into these specific techniques, learning all the styles, and I'll continue building on it over the years. But I reached a certain point and I found the drumming aspect was not fulfilling at all. And what I actually found fulfilling was the music playing. I don't know if you could just hear that email go off, but that was loud in my ear. So I have to address that for future. Hopefully it wasn't so loud for you. So that's why I switched towards a musician's focus. And I've recently played some gigs at very short notice. And I really didn't practice much for them. I just prepared mentally and I strategized for them. And they were some of the best gigs that I've ever played in my entire life. So now I've had this realization of, oh, I used to like practice for 8 hours a day for each gig coming up. But I feel like I've done my hours and hours of practice, and it's not even necessarily beneficial to the specific gigs that I have. I should practice more towards a universal approach that gears me or prepares me for any potential musical situation that could pop up. That's more what I teach because I'm a freelance musician. I will play a jazz trio gig, wallpaper music, background music. I'll do that one weekend. And then the next weekend, I'm doing a metal gig, playing breakdowns and blast beats. So anyway, it's a big topic, the social media thing. Just don't let it get to you. If it's what you want to do, just go all in, but just do it intelligently. Now, when I say go all in, I just mean like go for it. Just do it intelligently. If you're not getting the results that you're hoping for, just know it's not necessarily you, like it is because it's you making the thing, but it's not like a personal thing necessarily. It's more just some aspect that you're not aware of yet. You've still got to learn about. But like 9 times out of 10, it's completely not personal. It's just like you're doing something incorrect. It's very much like a video game. I find this stuff. There's like rules to it. And if you follow the rules, you will succeed. And if you don't, you simply won't. So sometimes your lack of success is because you haven't educated yourself on what it actually is. So anyway, to sum it up with the social media thing, that's kind of why I'm doing this. I'm doing this podcast approach, this long form approach, a bit more philosophical, reflecting on what this whole project is of drumming and music, because there already exists all the drum information, like a large amount of it already exists, all the practicing videos. So I thought, why would I just create something that already exists in many different forms? We have the internet, we've got this technology. let's explore what else can be done and what isn't being explored because, well, I think it's important. That's why I'm doing it. What else? That's really it. Please let me know your feedback. I'll stick with this long form. I'm just figuring it out. Today I've gone for about 45 minutes. Maybe I could go for longer. I wasn't thinking more than an hour. I wasn't even sure if I'd go for 20 minutes today. I'm still finding a format. So if you found this long form was useful, let me know. If you prefer the shorter videos, let me know too. And happy practicing, happy listening to music. One last thing, for me, it's mouth sounds. So if you can make the sounds of the drum beat or groove that you want to play, boom, cut, boom, 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 cut, boom, cut, boom, 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 cut. If you can do that, not specifically what I just did, but if you can sing the beats that you want to play, the grooves, the patterns, it's very easy to then recreate it on your instrument. You're just doing an impression of the sound that you can sing to yourself. Goom, 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 boom, boom. Yaka, ka, 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 ka. If you can sing it, you can play it. It's really that simple. You can read all the books on drumming and music and how does it work and go to all the academic scholars. But I'm telling you right now, it's actually very simple. You can sing it. You can play it. And on that note, I wish you some happy practicing, some happy music making. Let me know your feedback. Please follow on all the social media platforms. I'll leave links in the description. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, your family. Every bit of support helps, and it shows me that this resource is valued and valuable. For now, peace and love. Happy practicing. I'll talk to you soon.